Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and welcome to the shortest day of the year if you're in the northern hemisphere and the longest day of the year if you're in the southern hemisphere. I'm always excited about the first day of winter because it means that it is the shortest day of the year, which means that the days can only get longer, which is great because I have seasonal affective disorder and I really like sunshine. It's also around this time of year that people start thinking about their New Year's resolutions. And a few months ago, my friend Steph and I decided that one of the things that we wanted to do sooner rather than later is start to read some of the books on our own shelves, because both of us love the library and use it all the time, which is good, but we prioritize library books over the books that we physically own on our shelves. So, for the month of January, we are hosting Read Yo Shelf, which is a name we both think is adorable. We tend to bond over adorable things. For example, she's the person that lent me Check Please, which is the cutest graphic novel of all time, and we're currently watching Steven Universe, which I just love that show so much. I'm co-hosting this challenge with my friend Steph. She is not a booktuber, she is a bookstagrammer, so I will have her link down below. And the bingo card will be on both of our accounts, so it'll be very easy to reference when you're trying to pick out your TBR. I love Steph's bookstagram account. It's called Read Books, Love Books, and I love the things that she posts. I mean, I might be kind of biased because she does get some book recs from me, and when I see that she's reading them, I get super excited. But also, she has a great aesthetic, and I get a lot of book recs from her too. Anyway, Read Yo Shelf is a month-long readathon taking place all throughout January where you are just trying to read the books that are on your shelves. If you just do that, you are participating, but for those of us who like some structure, we've also come up with this lovely bingo board. Do not be daunted by this bingo board. If you are the type of person that only reads a couple of books in a month, that's fine. Try your best to get a line if that's what you want to do. Not to mention you can definitely double up on these challenges, so you could use one book maybe to fit 5 challenges in a row, and you would still get a line and you'd still win. But what I've done is slightly destroyed my bookshelves to grab a crap ton of books that are right next to me to give you some of the options that I could use for every single one of the spots on the bingo board. At some point, these are definitely gonna fall on me. It's just gonna happen. The first square on the bingo board is gift, because obviously in January you might have some gifts left over from the holidays that you really want to get to. One gift that just recently came in the mail for me was this one, The Abyss Beyond Dreams by Peter F. Hamilton. I don't know anything about this because I like to go into my things without knowing too much, but I got this from a bookish pen pal, so this could definitely be something I read as a gift. Or I told my mom that my favorite book this year was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and that I'd never read anything else by Taylor Jenkins Reid, so she just bought me like basically everything else by Taylor Jenkins Reid for the holidays, so there you go. The next spot is most recently acquired, and you could use this in a couple of different ways. Obviously this could double up with what you chose for gift because it could possibly be the most recently acquired thing you have, or in my case I actually have this to open, possibly from my Secret Santa. Or I could use this, but I want to read it sooner rather than later because the discussion for the book club that I'm using this for opens on the 24th. This is from the Life's Library Book Club. It's the first pick and I want to start reading it, but I'm currently reading another book for another book club, so bibliophile problems. The next spot is a diverse read, and I've actually been holding on to this one since it was published because I knew I'd be reading my shelves in January and wanted to include it in a video like this, and that's Alice Isn't Dead by Joseph Fink. I've been super excited to get into this because I really like his writing, and this book is gorgeous, by the way, this naked hardback, and because the end papers in these books are always gorgeous. Yeah. But that's as far as I've opened it so far because I knew I'd be using it for at least one of the challenges for this. The next challenge is oldest book, and this one is open to interpretation. It could be the oldest one published on your shelf, or it could be the oldest one that's been on your shelf the longest. I honestly don't know which book has been on my shelf the longest, and I think the oldest thing on my shelves that I haven't read yet, like publication-wise, is Canterbury Tales, and I really don't want to. I've tried to before, and it's just a nice addition I like to have there. So I've got a couple of different options. I've had this one on my shelf for quite a while, mostly because I won it in a Goodreads giveaway, but I was away from home when I won it, so I just never got around to reading it when I got back. I was actually on a 6-month trip and spent a significant portion of my time sitting on Crete with nothing better to do than enter Goodreads giveaways. As for a book on my shelf that is older in publication that I haven't read, this one came out in 2003, so 15 years ago, and I picked this one up at a big big charity book sale because I have a friend who really likes the writing of William Gibson, but I haven't read any of the writing of William Gibson. What I assume about this book based on the friend who really likes it is it's going to be sci-fi or computer related. Of course it's at the bottom of the stack. Oh, I'm so organized. The next category is a cover by, and that was this book. I literally know nothing about it, but I think it was 10 bucks at Chapters, and I liked the cover. The next challenge is red cover or red on the cover. This one definitely has a mostly red spine and red on the cover. This one is called Sight Reading, and if I remember correctly, this is about a girl who is in music school in Boston, which is a place I've been to, so I think I probably picked it up because I was like, oh, I was just in Boston or something like that. Actually, while I was in Boston, I was supposed to be staying in one of the dorms in one of the music schools, and I booked it on, I think, booking.com, and then about a month before my trip they were like, well, actually those are closed for renovations, so you gotta figure out somewhere else to stay. And I'm like, I booked this in advance so that I wouldn't have to pay premium prices for staying places. Oh good god, why? The next category is bought new, and there are a few of them on this list that qualify, but this is just one of them. Again, you can definitely double up, and I can see 1, 2, 3, at least 3 of these are bought new, and then all of those Taylor Jenkins Reads were bought new, so I have covered this challenge as long as I read one of these books. As for bought used, that's most of my shelf, but for this one I've specifically just pulled out Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. I believe this is about the last person in, I think, Iceland to be executed, and I believe it was a woman. I mean, you would be drawn to think so based on the cover alone. This was one of those books I heard about on YouTube and went, that sounds super fascinating. When I saw it in a used bookstore, I went, yes, I will take that for a couple of bucks, but just haven't gotten to it because library obsession. The next 2 squares I'm going to talk about together. They're recommended by a friend and part of a series, and my friend recommended the Blue Blood series. I've only read the first book so far because I read it for Book Swap-a-thon earlier this year, and then when she was unhauling her book, she said, do you just want these? And I went, sure. So they've literally been sitting on my floor because I am out of shelf space. I should probably get to them. These are heavy, I'm gonna put them down. But if I wanted to read other books from a series, I could read the second in the Inkheart series, or I could read the second in the Cormorant Strike series because I have these books also. The next spot is Own Voices, and this one is actually an arc I picked up from a local publisher, and this one is called This One Looks Like a Boy. So this is a transgender memoir. It is out in March, so I'm excited to get to it and let you know how it is. Next is Fantastic Title, and actually the title of this drew me over a year ago, and then I just forgot to read it. One of the biggest problems of just having like stacks of books in your house instead of just like on nice bookshelves is it's very easy to lose things. Not necessarily lose things, but lose track of things that you're really excited about. Anyway, this had me at the title, and then when I read the one-line synopsis, I went, yes, I need this in my life, and that is space opera. It's basically Eurovision in space, guys. That's what I'm excited for. Next is a free space, and I don't know what's going to fulfill that, but literally anything I talk about could. Next is a new to you author, and there are a ton of authors just on these books that I pulled off my shelves, not to mention these aren't the only ones that I could use for this. And of course, to balance out the new to you author, we also needed an author you love, and for me, that is Alice Oseman. I am finally going to read Solitaire. Radio Silence was one of my favorite reads of last year. This year I read I Was Born for this, and I also read Heartstopper, and the characters in Heartstopper I believe are background characters in Solitaire, which I'm here for. I'm so excited. I have no idea what this is about. Except for I'm pretty sure it's not a love story. Next is a book from a book box, and I am guilty of getting books in book boxes and then just not reading them, thinking, oh, that sounds really good, and then again they get tucked away on a shelf and I haven't read them. So I believe this is the one that I got in a book box last winter, and this appears to be a World War I historical fiction set in England. Next is a popular author, and I only know this author is popular because I shelve his books all the time at the library, so I'm going to read the #1 Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. Also, I have to read it for my book club that is happening in January, so I was gonna get this on the list somehow. Also, I really haven't decided what I'm going to do in terms of audiobooks, if I'm going to actually listen to some this month, because I don't own them. I would be getting them from the library. But also I could use that time to maybe catch up on all of the podcasts that I've been ignoring since I realized you can get audiobooks from the library for free. Have not decided. Next is a graphic novel, and this spot is on there for all those people that collect them and forget to read them, or those people that have that one just sitting on their shelf and they're not a really big graphic novel reader, or at least they don't think they are yet. I'm the type of person that tends to read my graphic novels as soon as I get them, but I never got around to reading the first volume of Rat Queens. I actually picked this up at a book swap, I believe it was last December at PodCon, and for whatever reason, it's just been relegated to that corner of my shelf that I haven't noticed in a while. I feel so apologetic to all of these books. That's what I'm spending most of this video doing. Next we have nonfiction, because almost everybody who has a book problem will have a nonfiction book on their shelf that they either never wanted to get to, or it's never been the right time and they feel like they don't want to read nonfiction, or whatever. We all have our own excuses. For me, one of those books is How to Be Canadian by Will and Ian Ferguson. I picked this one up mostly because it's probably going to be funny. I'm probably going to get a lot of the humor, and then also I know Ian. He lives in town and I've worked for him before, volunteering for a long-form serial improv that he runs. So I picked this up. Haven't cracked the cover. Next is Where'd I Get This?, which I thought I was not going to have a book for because I tend to remember exactly where I've acquired books from, but I actually have no idea where I picked up The Silkworm, so it can go on the list for now. There's probably other books that I could probably be like, I can't tell you exactly which of the Times Colonist sales I bought this at, so my shoulder clicked so loud when I shrugged. Okay. The next two categories are thrown in there to be easy spots to check off. Paperback, hardcover, done. I've obviously also covered the spot for contemporary, and for sci-fi fantasy I think I'm actually going to pick a fantasy and go with Heartless, because I really liked the Lunar Chronicle series, but I haven't read this. I believe this is about the Queen of Hearts, but she doesn't really want to be a queen, she would rather be a baker, and it's kind of her backstory, and I'm here for it. And the last category is to create your own category, so for me I want to pick up something that sounds outlandish but hopefully will work out to be a really cool premise, and for me that's Soulless. And why I gave it that preamble is just listen to this synopsis. First of all, she has no soul. Second, she's a spinster whose father is both Italian and dead. Third, she was rudely attacked by a vampire, breaking all standards of social etiquette. This sounds preposterous but amazing, and I want to read it. It is going to feel so weird to not just keep picking up books at the library all throughout January. I have so many things on my holds list that I'm going to have to suspend and wait until at least February to get to. That being said though, there are so many books on this list that I am very excited to get to, so I'm not going to get bored. And there you have it! What books on your shelves are you very excited to get to in January? Let me know down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!